the bucket and a foul. Breakaway. Io.
Oh, meet me at the rim and don't be late.
Give me the hot sauce. Did you not get the memo? Derek Rose can go upstairs.
Oh, he's walked in. The steal. Right for the lead. Yeah!
Big time plays. Big time plays.
Gimme for the win. Go!
Oh, my God. I cannot believe this.
Improbable.
Hey, everybody, welcome into a brand new edition of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. The Bulls are in training camp, getting ready for the start of a brand new season. Stacey King is ready to roll. Tim Kelley alongside. But before we talk basketball, I understand there was a big social event last weekend, Stacey.
Yes, my youngest son ended up getting married.
Ended up?
Yeah,
I like the way you put that.
I'm sorry.
Almost made a run for it.
No, I was excited about it. No, he got married this weekend.
Yeah.
A big family event. A lot of friends. A lot of people came. My good buddy right here came to the wedding. So he gave me somebody to laugh.
Oh, he gets the first photo, too.
Yeah,
Look at that red face.
Look at his face. It was hot. It
Getting burnt out there.
I'm going to tell you, it was hot as hell out there.
Yeah.
I was out there melting like a Hershey's Kiss in Vegas. I was like, okay, where's the cabana or something so we can actually sit? And, I mean, it was outside, so the nuptials was outside. Then you got to take pictures and stuff outside.
Yeah.
And then you go inside and, then the reception starts. And we had a blast. It was fun. It was kind of like a bilingual wedding because she's from Guatemala. So you had that little kind of a Spanish feel to it along with the American. So it was really cool because, like, the different cultures both were in the wedding together. So it was really cool.
You have a photo of the happy couple? Have we seen that yet? Not that happy couple.
Oh, there we are right there, baby. There we are right there, baby. We was on our fifth drink, baby. Hey, we didn't drink and drive, baby. I had a limo. Shout out to Legacy, baby. They got me home safe, baby. Allah.
30-plus years of friendship.
30
sometimes abuse.
And you know what? So what's so crazy about it? Like, so I've been telling Tim, like, hey, man, we got this wedding. Did you get your invitation? He's like, no, I didn't get it. So I sent it to him, right? So I asked him, I said, well, are you going to be able to go? So Tim's 40th year high school reunion was on the same weekend.
Yeah.
So I could understand if he didn't come, right? I totally understand. And he didn't mention it when we had the last podcast last week, whether he's going to be able to make it or not. So I just assumed, just like anybody else would assume, that he wasn't going to make it. So I made plans otherwise. So all of a sudden he shows up, his little red face. I'm like, and Maureen came, so I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you were at your reunion. It's all weekend thing.
Yeah.
So I decided to come. So
I said yes and sent the link does not give me the RSVP. And he's like, yeah, it does. I said, no, it does not.
So he sits down, right? We're getting ready to eat, right? And there's a discrepancy whether he gets a meal or not.
Yeah, no food for you, Mr. Kelley.
Because he wasn't on the list. So the people weren't going to
He crashed the wedding is what you're saying.
The wedding crashing.
It's not the first time.
So people were, the lady was like, well, you're not on the list. No, he's with me. He's with me. That's my guess.
We have a couple of the vegetarian plates left.
Yeah, yeah. No, we only have hors d'oeuvres left.
I slipped her at 20.
We only have hors d'oeuvres left. So, but I was like, no, he's got to eat, man. I mean, I was willing, as a good friend, I was willing to pass over my filet to him since he didn't get it since he showed up.
Hell no.
Goddamn right, I wasn't going to give it to him. Every man for himself, God for us all. But I was so happy to see him come, and we had a good time. And I mean, it was just me and him would just sit over just like old times. We were just talking crap about everybody.
Well, congratulations to your son and his wife. Hopefully,
Shout out,
lifetime
Brandon.
of happiness.
Lifetime of happiness, man, and good luck to you. And I wish you nothing but the best.
There you go. And then we get into Monday, and it's the start of the new season with the annual Media Day festivities at the United Center. Right away, AK gave us some news that Coby White would not be available at the start of training camp because he strained his calf in some preseason workouts. And we know the link between calf strains and Achilles tears. We saw it in the past with Kevin Durant and Tyrese Halliburton. They're not going to mess with it. And Coby, in talking to the media, said he's going to take it slow. He's going to wait till he's got 100% strength in that calf before he comes to play. He said he'll definitely miss the first week. Don't know how many preseason games he'll play, if any. But the key is to have Coby ready when the games start counting.
Well, if you look around the NBA, there's a lot of guys right now. I'm not even talking about the guys who got hurt last year. I'm talking about guys that are going into training camp banged up before camp even starts. You look at San Antonio. You've got their guard down there is hurt coming into the camp. He may miss all
De'Aaron
the
Fox,
De'Aaron Fox, so he may miss it. There's a lot of guys banged up. I mean, it's something you got to be concerned with. And it's like, again, I'm one of these guys like how's this happening? Like, how's this happening? But, I think you gotta move with kid gloves with this, because we've seen the results when these guys have these calf injuries. What comes after when they're not fully healthy and ready to go? The Achilles comes next. So if you're the Bulls and you've seen this, yeah, you gotta err on a cautious side.
Well, especially with Coby, I mean, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent coming up next summer, and the last thing he wants to do is have a serious injury going into your free agency.
Well, and I'm sure his agents tell him the same thing.
Yeah,
like, hey, you do not get back on that court until you feel like you are 100%. I'm not talking 85, 90%, and feeling the pressure of having to come out there and perform. You get out there on the court when you're ready, because this is not a contract year where you want to get hurt. You don't want to go into because that affects your money. If you got hurt with an injury, and let's say it's season ending, man, you end up, that's going to cost you millions.
Oh yeah, if he tore his Achilles, he cost himself tens of millions of dollars. So they're going to be cautious with Coby White. Josh Giddey met the media, and he said all the right things. He said, it was just a business situation, a negotiation, no hard feelings. He anticipated it would take a while because it's difficult for restricted free agents to move the needle in terms of getting a deal done. But he says he wanted to be in Chicago all along. This, it's going to be his team as the point guard. He's locked in for 4 years, and he sounded really upbeat about being able to pick up right where he left off, where he averaged almost a triple-double the last 20 games or so.
Well, I mean, he's going to come into camp healthy. Last year he came into, camp, he was injured in the Olympics. He hurt his ankle, so he wasn't 100%, but he did play, but he wasn't 100%. So we didn't get to see the best of Josh Giddey until that ankle healed up going into after the trade deadline. Then we got the chance to see him at his best. And what we saw in the second half, I think that's what Bulls fans are expecting to see from the start, is we want to see him do what he did in the second half. And with Coby being out, we don't know how long that could be. You got a whole different team now. These guys they've only played a half a season together. So, Kevin Huerter, and all the new Jalen Smith and all these guys have only played, a handful of games together. So now you're coming into the season, everybody's there from day one. Vooch is back, so you got some solid play at the center spot, some guys that know how to play in Billy's system, and these guys now, they're going to have to come out and get, start. I would not be surprised, and I keep saying this, I would not be surprised if they get off to a good start. That was all before Coby got hurt, but I can see them getting off to a good start, and that's what you want if you're Billy Donovan, is to have some kind of good start to build confidence, to build that you could go out here, because there's going to be a lot of teams struggling this year. You look at the haves and have-nots. The one team that's going to be healthy this year is Cleveland. They got to wait for Darius Garland to come back, and I think he's not supposed to schedule to come back until October, late October with his toe surgery. So Boston is ailing right now. Indiana is ailing right now. That doesn't mean they're going to be a bad team, but they're not going to be as strong as they were last year.
It was interesting. ESPN was playing some of the best clips from Media Day, and they had Lonzo Ball at the podium, and he's going to be playing a lot for Cleveland because of the injury to Garland. And he gets in front of the media. He goes, it's been a great summer. He goes, I didn't know there was so much water in Cleveland. I'm like, what? I mean, how many times have you been there visiting Florida? You didn't know Lake Erie was there? I mean, you know what it's like when you fly in. They put you in a bus. You go to the hotel.
Yeah, you never see it.
So he's like, I didn't know there was so much water.
And Cleveland's not a place where we spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean,
no one vacations.
I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who the hell takes a vacation?
I mean, when you're in a playoff situation, you're there a little longer. You might be there 4 days, so you're able to get out and go see things. But when you're in a regular season, it's one and done. You're in there. You might only be in there 48 hours tops before you go into another city. So guys are not going out in Cleveland. Guys are not going out in Detroit. They're not going out. But if it was L.A., Miami, those kind of places, anywhere in California, Phoenix, those guys are out seeing the city. But when these places where you're visiting when it's cold and it's nasty outside, anybody want to go see the lake in the middle of the winter? Anybody want to go out there?
And for that. The Cavaliers are really talking up Lonzo Ball. They're really excited to have him.
They should.
His defensive ability, his leadership.
They
shoot
should.
the three.
I mean, you saw when he's healthy, the impact he made on this team when he was healthy. When he came back and showed everybody that his knee was healthy, the impact he made on this team. When he went out last year with that wrist injury, and that hurt the team tremendously. Now you got a guy now, your starting point guard, Darius Garland, is out. You're considered the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. You go and pick up a guy who's been a starter his whole career, who arguably is one of the best point guards, true point guards left in this league, that only cares about making his team better, the assists. He's not about scoring. It's never been like that. If you want a true point guard, you go out and get Lonzo Ball. And they got him cheap. They got him cheap. I mean, about as cheap as you can get for a guy that can make the same impact that Alex Caruso did in Oklahoma City. I believe you're going to see the same impact with Lonzo Ball with Cleveland.
And we like the guy we got back, too, in Isaac Okoro. AK was talking a lot about him, saying that he brings that element of toughness, that defensive identity that they're trying to strengthen, because everybody was talking about the fact that in the play-in game against Miami, they kind of got punked a little bit. They got pushed around. They weren't up to the physical challenge, and they think Okoro is really going to help them in that area.
I say he's got to start. I do. Because we've already seen, the Patrick Williams experiment being a starter. I think Patrick is more comfortable coming off the bench, being a 6th or 7th man. I think this kid gives you the energy that you need to start the game. He's going to get in people's faces. He's going to get steals in transition. He's going to be able to play the way the Bulls want to play with this high-tempo offense where he can get out in transition. He's a very good rim runner. He loves to get out. He's become a very serviceable three-point shooter, a consistent corner 3 guy. So this is a guy you want out on the floor, and he can guard anybody on switches. Doesn't matter. He's a tough kid. And in Cleveland, I said this last week, in Cleveland, he got overshadowed of what he does. Mm-hmm. And then they went out and got another small forward because they were, Cleveland was thinking we're going to play Boston at some point. So we've got to go load up on small forwards because we got to see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, in the finals or wherever we're going to see them. So they went out, they got DeAndre Hunter from Atlanta. So they stocked up on, they ended up putting him in the starting lineup, and then Okoro coming off the bench, and then they stayed that way the rest of the thing. But at the end of the day, this kid's a starter in this league. He's in the same draft class as Patrick Williams. If this doesn't motivate Patrick Williams to come and play hard this year and have his mind right, maybe coming off the bench is the best option for him to take some pressure off him. Some people in this league, Mark, hey, there's nothing wrong with a guy being a bench player. I know people are going to look at his draft status and go, he was the 4th pick in the draft. How can he be a bench player? It just happens. Everybody can't be a star. Everybody can't be the number 1 guy. This may be the role that he can really, really thrive in, coming off the bench, less pressure. They give him the ball in his hands, let him do some things that he wouldn't be able to do with the starters, because we know Josh Giddey is going to have the ball in his hands the majority of the time, and then Kobe's going to have the ball in his hands. So there's not really an opportunity for Patrick to have the ball in his hands. That's why Cora makes the best sense, because he doesn't need the ball in his hands. He's a slasher. He's a guy that's going to be a rim runner. He's going to dive to the basket and get passes from Giddey. So that's why you want him in the starting lineup.
The star of the show at Media Day, though, was the second-year forward, Modest Buzelis. This kid is really a lot of fun. He's got a lot of swagger to him, a lot of bit of attitude, doesn't mind talking trash and setting high goals for himself. He said he wants to be the most improved player in the NBA. They give that award out every season. He wants to compete for first-team all-defense honors. I mean, he was talking to talk at Media Day, and he said that, if people say you can't do something, it's either been done before or I'll be the first to do it. I mean, he was just laying it out there for folks.
Well, listen, I mean, you saw, given the opportunities that he was given last year in the second half, the glimpse of what he could do with consistent minutes, you get consistent play. I say that all the time with young players. If you give them inconsistent minutes, you're going to get inconsistent play, and then it's going to allow coaching staff to say, "See, that's why he's sitting on the bench." This kid, when given minutes, he's shown he deserves to be out there. I still think he's more 3 than 4, even though he's put on a little poundage. I think he's still a 3 more than a 4. I think what you got out of him, he fits what they're trying to do as far as having a mobile bigs that can get out and run and get out and fill lanes and get dunks in transition. We know he can dunk. He's one of the better dunkers in the game. I think the big key for Modest is to come out and establish yourself early. Like, I'm one of the guys. Like, I'm not a guy that's just going to sit back and just be in the back seat. I'm a guy that's going to be out either sitting in the front or driving the car. I'm going to start imposing my play and my will to be a main focus on this team, where the coach is running plays for him. They're singling him out on matchups. That's where you want the step for Modest to come in year 2, is to be that type of guy.
One interesting dynamic about this Bulls team this year is that they have, I believe, 7 players who can be free agents next summer. You've been involved on teams like that where a lot of guys are looking ahead to free agency. How can that affect the dynamic in the locker room and on the court?
Well, it impacts it big time if you don't have leaders, and what are we playing for? On a losing team, guys don't care. Guys are going to get mine. I'm trying to put up as much numbers as I possibly can get. Teams that are winning, teams that have playoff, they want to be in the playoffs. They have championship aspirations. Their mindset is different. Their mindset is, I'm just going to go out and do me. I'm going to play hard. My team's going to win, and I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. If that's where these guys' heads are at, then it's going to be a good year. If their heads are at, it's like, well, I'm not going to be here. When I come in the game, I'm just jacking them up. I'm just going to just fire them up when I'm out there. I'm not going to play defense. If that's their mindset, it's going to be a long year, and I don't want to see that kind of year.
So it's going to be interesting as they get rolling with training camp practices at the Advocate Center. As we mentioned, the preseason opener is next Tuesday in Cleveland against the Cavaliers. Hey, we got a special treat for you, Bulls fans from the championship era. Corie Blount, who played between the two three-peats, is going to join us next to talk about his experiences in the NBA and at Cincinnati playing for Bob Huggins. But first, I want to tell you about one of our great friends, friend of the program, one of our terrific sponsors, nationwide agent Jeff Vukovich. When it comes to being treated like royalty, make sure to contact Jeff. He will take care of all your insurance needs, auto, home, and business. You can reach him at jeffvuk.com. The phone number, 847-825-4783. And pretty soon you'll be nightly serenaded with Stacey King singing the nationwide jingle.
Nationwide is on your side.
So make sure to contact Jeff for all your insurance needs. Up next, we talk with Corie Blount on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Hey, it's now our pleasure to welcome in a guest, a friend of the program. Corie Blount is going to join us now. Former Bull, had a long NBA career, and now he's doing some great work as a businessman, an entrepreneur, as they like to say. Corie, welcome to the show. Let us know what you've been up to these days.
Man, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Anytime I get a chance to see that guy sitting across from me right there is always a pleasure, man. One of the most comical players I've ever played with. So it was an honor. I couldn't wait to get on and talk and speak on the sauce with my boy, Stacey King, man. So just an honor to be here. I got a lot going on, man. I am a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company after I went back to school and graduated from the University of Cincinnati with my degree. So I started a program and a brand that kind of promotes education by acknowledging and inspiring academic education for kids to continue to focus on the benefits of education. Been doing that for the last 15 years. I got my real estate license. I'm like a do-it-all type of person, just taking advantage. I don't work for nobody, so I have the ability to kind of get my hands involved in a lot of things. I'm working on a documentary for the most respected coach in my life, Coach Bob Huggins, with a group called 9 Media Productions, and we're just getting ready to put this documentary out on Coach Huggins' incredible career. So just got my hands in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about Huggy Bear. Huggy Bear he's made such an impact. I've never heard a player that's played for him have a bad thing to say about him. I know he was tough. He was a driven coach. He'd get in your face when you need to get in your face. And from the outside looking in, it's probably like a couple of steps down from Bobby Knight. That's how we looked at him as former players. But you guys absolutely love him. I've never heard anyone who's ever played for Huggins say a bad word. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about the documentary and your experience with Huggins when you was at Cincinnati.
Well, the good thing about that, Stace, a lot of time when you ask guys about Coach Huggins, they're no longer playing for him anymore. so you understand what I'm saying? Because during that time when you're playing for him, he's probably every other word that you can think of to describe an asshole, man. But he has that rare ability to give you all that and then show you love and don't hold no grudges about anything right after that. So that's what makes him such a phenomenal coach, man, because he'll call you everything that you probably never even heard. One of my teammates called it verbal violence. That's what you got from playing with Coach Hugs. But right after that, you can go in his office and talk to him about anything. What was said on the court stays on the court. And to me, that's what makes him a rare coach, because you felt the love. Even after he done cussed you out and called you every name under God's green earth, right on the way out, he's giving you a hug and encouraging you to the only reason I'm pushing this way because I need you to be the best you can be. So he had that gift to be able to do that. And the documentary is just more so based on his incredible career. He came to the University of Cincinnati and just changed the dynamic of the whole program. We hadn't had any major national success since the 62-63 final championships teams from back in the day. And after his third year here, that's when I came, and Nick Van Exel, Herb Jones, Eric Martin, Terry Nelson, we came and resurrected the program. And ever since that moment, UC's basketball has been one of the most recognizable brands in college basketball. And so, I was always a big fan. I love the guy to death. And when Alan Hilsinger and Terry Lukemeyer and Heath Hill and Jim Dugan came to me about doing a documentary on him, I was in full go, man. I said, man, I'll do anything I need to do to just help promote the importance of what Bob Huggins did for my life and all the other players involved and the universities he was involved in. So the documentary is more based on his incredible career and how he's affected and changed lives for so many young men.
So you actually had to go back and you had to go find players, not just the players that played at Cincinnati, but everywhere he's been, you had to get some of those guys to come on board to do. We got Bull Javon Carter, who played with him at West Virginia, had a lot of success with him at West Virginia. He's part of the documentary. You're going to be interviewing him at some point here in the next few weeks. What was the response when you went to these guys and said, hey, listen, we're doing something on Coach Huggins. I want you to be part of it. Can you do it? What was the response for these guys?
Man, it was amazing because the first thing in today's society, the first thing guys are concerned about money. How much am I getting paid? But nobody that we've asked to get involved in this even thought about how much they were getting paid, because we all wanted, I think they all value what Hugs brought to their lives and was willing to support this documentary to be able to promote his values. So everybody was in, man. I mean, from the sports announcers to the guys at West Virginia, Cincinnati. It's just been a phenomenal ride, and it hasn't been a money grab. Everybody trying to, how much money the thing gonna make? Well, we're doing this for Coach because, far as we know, nobody has ever promoted him and his legacy so far, and we wanted to be the first to do it.
Well, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I mean, with the success that he's had at major universities, a lot of people don't talk about him and his successes that he's had. That's one of the most difficult. You hear Rick Pitino, he gets a lot of flowers for what he's done, going to different universities and turn those programs around. But there's certain guys in college basketball that are well liked, and there's certain guys that are not liked because they win and they win their way. They don't have to bow down to people. And Coach Huggins is like that. Billy Tubbs is like that. They're not going to dance and sing and dance. They're going to do it their way. They're going to beat you, and they're going to let you know they beat you, and you're going to feel that they beat you.
Yeah. He brought a style, I think, to college scene that had kind of been seen with the UNLV team back in the day because all the junior college guys that was on that team. But the way we played and the way we played defense and pressed throughout the whole 40 minutes of the game, I think that's what built that Cincinnati toughness and that Bearcat mantra that we've been able to capitalize off of to today.
You know who the godfather of that 48 minutes of pressing is, don't you?
I
that
do
University
know.
of Oklahoma Sooner basketball team.
I got to give it up to you guys.
Vegas gets all the credit for it because they got Larry Johnson who came along.
Yeah.
But us in Nolan
Arkansas.
Richardson, when he was at
Arkansas.
Tulsa, was one of the reasons why we started playing that way. But Oklahoma is one of, we average 114 points a game at the college level. You don't see teams doing that.
No, not anymore.
You don't see teams pressing like we pressed back in the 80s and the 90s. Teams just are not in condition to do that anymore. They're shooting more threes, but they're not scoring as many points as we were scoring because of our defense.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know if I didn't know, you was definitely going to remind me who started it. So
yeah, I just want to throw that out there before we jump to another subject, because Mark is going to jump in with a question, and I might not be able to come back in and interject my great Sooner teams in there.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Well, you left Cincinnati in 93, first-round draft pick of the Bulls. You overlapped with Stacey for 1 year. Stacey always talks about the fact that he wouldn't put up with the nonsense about hazing rookies and they weren't going to punk him. Did Stacey ever try to make you do rookie stuff?
I wouldn't say Stacey ever tried to make me do rookie stuff, but the whole team, based on me and Tony being the only two rookies, it was like a group effort. You know what I mean? They all had a part in laying down some rules that, at first I kind of resisted, but the thing about the Bulls organization, if you did resist it, they didn't really chastise you like physically. They went in your pockets. You found out that when you got your check, there was a thing called a silly fine, and all of a sudden you're getting deducted money. So I don't know if Stacey and them kind of had a lot to do with that aspect of it, but they knew how to get you to do what they needed you to do by taxing you on them dollars. So I kind of conformed after them checks start coming up short.
I kind of feel sorry for the rookies coming in because I know what we had to endure. Like we had to do, we got it really bad because we came in. Me and BJ were the youngest. Everybody was married and had kids, and Yeah, Michael was like right at his prime, and he was also a prime, guy that really took that rookie stuff to the next level, kicking balls up into the top of the arena. I don't mind getting balls on the floor, putting them in the rack, but when you start kicking them up when the escalators don't work, and now say go get a rookie, that's when I had to draw a line in the sand, like, hey, listen, we might have to fight. Like, seriously, we might have to fight.
Yeah, I don't remember you guys hitting us that hard. I remember the things about making us go, in the snow and help with the bags. And then sometime once we land, you had to go to the store and get some donuts and stuff like that. But all that kicking the ball stuff, me and Tony, we were older rookies anyway. So I don't think you guys viewed us as some young guys like that.
No, it was pretty chill when they came along. The guys got older. We'd already won championships, so it's kind of like, we were kind of mellowed out.
Yeah, but think about that time when you came in. Michael retired just before the start of training camp. You mentioned Tony Kukoc. He comes over with a lot of pressure on his shoulders after what happened in the Olympics in '92 and all the expectations. And that had to be a weird time for you to come in as a rookie with all the drama surrounding the Bulls at that time.
Well, it wasn't just the drama. You got to look at how big our team was at that time. I mean, everybody at that forward and center position was 6'10" and up. So it wasn't a lack of big men that I had to go against every day. Even Tony Kukoc was 6'10".
Yeah.
So our team was so big, and that's the thing that I remember most. Like every day in practice, going against Stacey, Scott Williams, Horace Grant, Bill Winnington, Bill Cartwright. All these big guys every day. That's the thing that I really remember the most. But it helped me in a sense because it kind of prepared me for going to battle every day. But it was a lot of work going against that caliber of bigs every day.
Well, tell us a little bit, before you got drafted, when you knew the Bulls were going to draft you, what was your mindset thinking, okay, I'm going to a championship caliber team and play with MJ. They just won another ring. You're going in with that mindset, and then you come here, and then MJ retires early. The whole dynamic of the team is completely different from the one you saw the previous summer. And now you're being part of something. What was your mindset, and what were you thinking when you say, wow, MJ retired, man, are we going to get a ring? What's going to happen?
I like I said, at that time I was a rookie, so I was really new to this whole experience of even being at this level. Like for me, when I was in college, man, Hugs had us practice 3 hours straight every day. 3 hours straight. It wasn't no days we had off. This before the NCAA enacted, the rules that they enacted to stop coaches from being able to practice you all the time. So I was so used to going to practice from 3 to 6 and going hard till now I get drafted by the Bulls. Of course, I'm getting ready to play against Michael and everybody, but our practice was so easy. Phil wasn't driving them guys into the ground. They had just won 3 championships. So when I look back at it, to me, that was the first real introduction. Like, man, this isn't as hard physically as I thought it would be just based off the demand, but the caliber of players you're going against was even harder. So that whole thing of getting here and then knowing that I was going to be on a championship team, I was excited, ready. I don't know if Stacey remember, I went to Pete Newell's big man camp and played against all them guys. So that whole introduction to coming to the Bulls with the caliber of team, I knew I was going to get me a championship ring. That's all I was telling everybody. Like, man, I signed with the Bulls. Man, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Stacey King, Horace Grant, man, we getting ready to win the championship. And then Michael announced that retirement. It kind of took the sale out of everything. Like, oh, man, well, how are we going to do this here? And then, it was Scottie's team, man, and we were still pretty good. So just being a Bull in itself at that time, that mindset with everything, you still thought you was going to win a championship. I don't think none of these guys ever thought that since Mike left that we weren't still going to win a championship. So that was never a question of mine.
It's funny with the season getting ready to start, training camp getting ready to start, NBA TV has to fill a lot of content. So they run greatest games from the past. And last night they had the double nickel game, Michael at Madison Square Garden. And I see Corie Blount out there. In that game, Luke Longley fouled out. Will Perdue fouled out, and there's Corie in the post battling Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, and all those brutes from the Knicks. What do you remember about that night?
Man, it was a tough night. Because Ruben Patterson texted me yesterday, like, man, I see you. They got you on the TV tonight, man. I'm like, yeah, I remember that game, and I do not want to watch it again because my game was so limited back then. at that time, Mike had just came back, and your role was just to defend and find Mike and sit back and get out his way and let him do his thing. So I just remember that we were going to that game because we had played some games before that, but Mike's whole attitude was it was always tough, but his whole attitude about going to New York, like he was getting ready to put on a show. And I remember sitting on the back of the bus with him, and he was like, "Man, you ain't never seen nothing like what I'm getting ready to do today." And I'm like, "Man, whatever, man." He said that before the game, and I'm sitting there watching this dude get 55, and I had never been on a team where nobody, I think, ever scored over 30 that I've played against or played with. So to see this guy get 55, and we're walking off the court after he did, and he was like, "I told you what I was gonna do today." I'm like, "Man, you a bad man." I couldn't say nothing, but boy, you a bad man after that.
Talk a little bit about your time in LA and having experience to have a young Kobe coming up through the ranks, and what was it like playing with him? What are the similarities that you saw early on? Between him and MJ. I know MJ was at the end of his career when you met him, but talk a little bit about Kobe coming into the league and his mindset, because I know he struggled. Dale Harris was kind of like, that was the only guy that could guard Kobe was Dale Harris. Dale Harris.
Yeah.
Dale Harris. But Eddie Jones was hooping for the Lakers too at that time, so I could see the point. But that was the only guy that could keep Kobe down. Talk a little bit about that time and your early times with Kobe.
Man, my first introduction to Kobe Bryant was when Jerry West called me to his office, and we were in summer league. We had played one game in the summer league, and Jerry called me and said, "Look, man, I got the kid coming to LA next in a couple of days, and I want you to acclimate him to the Lakers or how we doing things right now in the summer league." So Larry Drew was the coach. He said, "Larry, you already know, but I just wanted you to kind of take him under your wing." And I'm like, no problem. So I can just remember the first time he came. We were in practice, and you knew the hype. I had never seen him play, but you just knew the hype about Kobe Bryant because he was drafted. He got drafted by the Lakers. So I just remember that first practice, man. The dude came to the practice and would not pass the ball to nobody. I never forget it. I remember George Lynch was like, "Oh, this is what we're gonna have to deal with." They were like, "Yeah, man, young fella ain't playing." So, make a long story short, man, we started the summer league. Before he came, we was averaging about maybe 2,000 people at it was at the Long Beach Sports Arena where we was playing. And that first summer league game, Kobe had 36. He gave him 36 that first summer league. And I remember calling my boys like, "Man, I just seen the next Michael Jordan, man. Y'all got to come see this kid." So after that game, the Long Beach Arena was sold out the rest of our games, and he averaged 36 the rest of the summer league.
Wow.
So from that, you already knew what you had, going into the season. And then when we got to the season, it's like, man, Eddie Jones was a monster at that time.
All-star.
And all-star, highly talented player. We had a good nucleus of guys with Cedric Sabalas and Nick Van Exel and all those guys at that spot. But Kobe was working so hard to try to dominate, to get his position, and it was almost like he was doing a little too much because he wasn't able to really display the success he had at the summer league. And plus, we wasn't allowing that shit to happen anyway. So it was an everyday grind. But he was even in walkthroughs, he was just trying to go hard. And you could see that one day I said, "Man, this is a walkthrough, bro. Why are you going so hard?" He was like, "Because his exact words was like, that motherfucker got my spot." I'm like, "Who? Eddie. I gotta kill him every time I see him." I'm like, "Cole, walk through, bro. Like you don't understand, man. That's my spot." And I'm talking about every day. It was a battle. So you saw his tenacity, you saw his will. It was days where when I got traded to the Lakers, I got to tell this story. When I got traded to the Lakers, I never forget. Phil Jackson called me to his office and was like, "We're gonna send you to LA, and we want you to be successful. You're one of our guys. And we talked about you, where'd you want to go? And you said LA, so we got the deal done." He said, it's important that you go out there. Even though you're going to play for the Lakers, you're still representing me and Jerry because you're one of our guys and we want you to be successful. And he said, "You're going to go out there and play with a guy that used to play for me. And the only thing this guy fears is a good night's sleep." And I'm like, "Huh?" He's talking about Sedale threes.
Oh, yeah. Damn. He's legendary.
Yeah. So when I got to LA, of course, I always remember what Phil said. And I ended up, my thing, I used to like to play everybody one-on-one. And so I got there and got to know Sedell, and I told him what Phil had said. And he gave me the tools that I need. He said, look, man, I know you're from LA. I know you're gonna be coming out here partying, but whatever you do, you make sure you're the first one at the gym and you get that liquor out your system. I'm like, cool. So that was my mindset. I would always go early to get a sweat and to get the liquor out of my system. Well, when Coby came, I would be going early and Coby be already in there working out. Like he'd be in the gym by himself and he like, is that you, Blunt? And at first it was like, yeah, well, let's play one-on-one. He wanted me to, he had me work on different moves that he was doing because his whole thing, I know if I can get this off on you, ain't nobody my size gonna be able to stop me. So you supposed to be a dog defender. You from Cincinnati, come get some of this. So we would play one-on-one, and that's how our relationship kind of got a little ahead of everybody else because I was really involved with him, just wanting to compete and work out like that at an early age. But then during the course of the season, man, you could just see the kid's progress. He never wanted to party. He never did anything. He was in the gym all the time. I had a buddy of mine that made these VHS tapes. I had these dunk tapes that this guy named Billy used to make for me, and they used to be 4 hours long with nothing but dunks. So I called Billy. I said, man, make me a Michael Jordan highlight tape. He made me a Michael Jordan highlight tape, and when I got it, I called Coby, like, man, you got to see this. Man, when I gave Coby that tape, he said, let me check it out, Blunt. I said, all right, go ahead after we watched it. He never gave me that tape back. Never. And then I start everything that he would see on that tape, he was emulating, trying to catch guys on how Mike would get to the basket, work on his footwork. And I saw that trend in him, like, man, really becoming that persona of that dog that Mike had. It was coming out in Coby at that time. And he executed it to the fullest, as we all know, man. One of the greatest players to ever play the game from that standpoint.
That's very interesting because, Craig Hodges was a shooting coach out there later on. And he would tell me stories about Coby. And I'd always ask him, I know Coby's got dog in him. I know there's not a bigger competitor in the game at that time than he was. Where does the comparison, is it parallel? Is there a big difference between the two? And Craig would always say, no, it's the same. He's got the same mentality, the same mannerisms. His whole attitude is about kill and destroy. He's not trying to be your friend. He doesn't care if you like him. He's about business. He's a killer. That's how MJ was. MJ knew he had you. If you walked out on the floor and started smiling, how you doing, Mike? And talking to him. Oh, you're getting 50 tonight. I'm already up 25 before the game even starts. And they just had an ability to know, MJ would foster information, like false information. Like he'd say someone was talking about him. Oh, Craig Hill said he's a Jordan stopper. Well, we're playing Cleveland. I'm going to show him he ain't the Jordan stopper. That kind of thing. And Craig Hodges said Coby was the same way.
Yeah, I could see that. For me, my experiences was when I got to the Bulls, Michael had already solidified his greatness. Coby hadn't done that yet. So I got to see Coby matriculate into his greatness, and that's what made me have a different found of respect for him because I saw the young Coby come in, I saw the mistakes, and then I saw the different issues he had early on by getting those minutes. I tell everybody, if Coby would have went to a different team and got drafted in a different spot, he would have led the league in FGAs. He might have led it in scoring, but he would have led it in field goal attempts. He was going to put that joker up until he probably led it in scoring. So just that tenacity and the way he displayed it over his career, man, you knew it was special at that time.
Well, Corie, we mentioned you had a long career in the league. Unfortunately, you were with the Bulls between the two three-peats, and then you left the Lakers before their three-peat, so that's unfortunate. And then you come back to the Bulls, and they were in that rebuilding phase with the teen towers with Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry, and Bill was the coach, and Scott Skiles came in. What was your second go-around with the Bulls like?
It was definitely different. I got to tell this part of the story because the only reason I got traded out of LA is because I wanted to. Jerry and Phil did not want me to they didn't force the trade for me to get out of there. I just wanted to play so bad. And then I would get my minutes and have a little success. So I'm thinking like, man, I'm ready. And then Jerry was like, look, I signed you to a 6-year deal. We 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 drafted you because we knew how we wanted to mold you in. So you're gonna have to have some patience and work. And I'm like, man, I want to play now, man. Y'all got to get me out of here. I can't function in this triangle and saying all that stuff. So the triangle was so diabolical for me because of the terminology. And I'm the other thing, I was talking to Stacey the other day. These guys had all the experience in the triangle. So when I got here, it was me and Tony, and we had no experience in the triangle. And I'm sure you guys being around Stacey, he can tell you the terminology in the triangle is different than any offense I've ever seen in my life, man. You running down the court and you hear Phil say, reverse the action off a blind pig with a minute of the second. Like, what the hell is that? So for me at that time, coming from Hugs calling 23 and 1-5, it was just complicated. So I was just always saying, man, I got to get out of here, man. This stagnant offense, as a big, you got to run to the block. So that was my mindset, which was immature, kind of young and dumb at the time. So I ended up going to getting traded. And then once I got in the league, I really understood the value of the triangle and the system, especially playing against it and then understanding the success it has. So later on, Jerry called me and was like, I got a group of young guys here that I think you'll be a good mentor for because you know the Chicago Bulls way. You're a good guy, and I would want you to come work with these guys. And they're young. One of the kids from California and the other one's here. So we just I think Oakley had just left, and I don't know how that had transpired between him bullying the young kids or whatever.
Yeah, the gooch.
So they brought me in to kind of be the mediator between that. And I just came in, man. I took a liking to that team, took a liking to those young guys. Me personally, I thought Bill was a good coach for them, but I just think them trying to execute the triangle with these young guys, that's why we struggle so much, man. With the athleticism and the youthfulness of these guys, they should have just been going up and down. Nothing stagnant for these guys to have to think or read. And I think that's kind of where we struggled a lot early on with that team, man.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the good things that the Bulls do, I always tell this when the younger players when we were here, is that, as long as you come here and you come in and put a good day's work in and you bust your butt and you do everything that you need to help your team win, you're always going to have the doors always going to be open for you. They never close the door on those guys. Corie went out, been on some other different teams, and they end up bringing him back. And you heard him just say that, Jerry said, hey, you're a good guy. We really do. That's what it's like. Now, if you were a jerk, they're not bringing you back. They don't even you can't even come to a Bulls game. They don't want you back. But the Bulls are really good at bringing guys back that were in the organization, that played, that meant something to the organization, and that really did what they were supposed to do. They came here, they put that jersey on, representing the Chicago Bulls to the utmost in the city, and there was always a place for them.
Yeah, I mean, I love Chicago. There's nothing nobody could tell me bad about that organization, especially about Jerry, man. I wasn't involved in the money thing, and it didn't concern me, and I heard the qualms about all that stuff. But for what Jerry did for me and my family, I was always grateful. Jerry was just one of those guys who every time I interacted with him, he was trying to give me everything I needed. The Rhinestones I was also thankful for them for giving me the opportunity to be a Bull. So I've always had a ultimate respect for them. And then my agent, Mark Bartelstein, was in Chicago. And I had the same agent my whole career. So Chicago has always been the foundation for me as a pro player. And I've always respected the Chicago Bulls and the city of Chicago.
Well, Corie, you said you've watched a number of the podcasts. So this is the time in the interview where Tim Kelley gets to ask a question. So buckle up. You never know what he might ask.
Let me get the mute. Let me get the mute button ready.
Hey, let me buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up, CB.
Well, first, it's great to be an entrepreneur, Corie, because you really get to find out what an a-hole your boss is.
Man.
Wow.
But,
I could be that sometime.
Wow, that's true. And then I know you make T-shirts for graduate stuff. Do you ever think about? We had Leitner on here recently, and he really embraced the I Hate Leitner T-shirts. You ever think about making some I Hate Montrose T-shirts?
Well, I mean, rest in peace to Eric Montrose. I didn't have that hate because I felt I bust his ass when I played against him. So it'd be hard. Now they beat us at that. I probably do a hate George Lynch because that's who played well against us. But Montrose didn't really do too much against us. But yeah, that's possible. I'd rather do a I hate North Carolina T-shirt than to single somebody out.
Yeah, we could add all those players on the back.
Yeah, definitely.
In the debate, when you talk about the greatest player, you know, you play with Kobe, you know, you play with MJ towards the end of his career. Yeah. Where do you rank LeBron and the GOAT debate? Because you hear all these people. LeBron has his followers, and not saying LeBron's not a great player. You know, I'm always going to say MJ, and I put Kobe number 2 in my opinion because Michael's 1A, he's 1A. Where do you rank him? If you had to pick, like, who's the greatest player of all time, where would you pick?
Man, that's a good question, and it's getting asked all the time, and it's definitely a debate that goes on and on and on. But to me, it's like when you trying to debate greatness against greatness, really what's the defining factor? And unfortunately, numbers, like they say, numbers don't lie. And what LeBron has accomplished over his career, number-wise, it's hard to debate his success level in the NBA. But when you're talking about influence, persona, especially marketing, and just being an overall GOAT, I'm with you, Stacey. I have to give it to MJ. Now, I didn't get a chance to experience the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar era, and the things Kareem did have been phenomenal over the history of the NBA. But if I had to give it to somebody, Mike is by far the greatest player to ever put him on to me.
Yeah, it's a tough question, you know, and it's everybody has their opinion on it. You know, I think the guy who really gets left out a lot is Kobe. You know, Kobe gets left out of that conversation a lot. And he definitely should be in the conversation. He should be at the table when you're talking about it. But when you look at, you know, the numbers, and numbers don't lie. You know, LeBron has played a lot longer than everybody else. So that number, the most games played or the career points will never be broken. I don't think anybody will break that. It was there for 30-plus years with Kareem. So I don't think that record ever be broken. But when you talk about, you know, the influence, the culture, the changing, you know, the championships that came along with that, the standard where it was set for other players to come along and say, you know, I want to do what this guy did. You know, and when you look at the impact he still has on this league, you know, I mean, like this guy's he's been gone for 30-plus years, and the impact that he still has on this league is even his shoes. His shoes alone, the Jordan brand, outsells all the other superstars brands together. That's including Steph, you know, LeBron, KD. You put anybody's shoes up there, they don't equal what the Jordan brand. So that tells you that he's here for a long, long time.
Yeah, the biggest argument. Sorry, Cory. The biggest argument, and I heard you talk about this before, is Del Harris and him saying he was his best defender. But the only argument you ever hear on that LeBron-Kobe thing is talking about their first year or two and their points per game. But as you just attested to earlier, he didn't get the minutes.
No, he didn't get the minutes and really didn't get the opportunity on the level that first-round draft. Well, he wasn't the first pick, but, you know, someone at that level to get that opportunity to just have the ball given to him and do what they wanted to do. So it was definitely a difference. But I wanted to add this before I forget. You know, even though I played with probably the greatest players of that era with Michael and Kobe and Shaq, Allen Iverson, I played with Penny Hardaway, Jason Kidd, all these great players, none of them dominated the entire game to me like Scottie Pippen did the year I was in Chicago. Yes. I tell everybody, man, Scottie led our team in scoring, rebounds, assists, block shots, and steals. One man controlled our whole team just based off his effort and energy, and every night in and night out, he brought it like that. To me, that's the most phenomenal player that I personally played with. I had never seen nobody do it on the level that he did, and will be a close second to Shaquille O'Neal, just based off his size and the way he dominated. But what Pip did that year, man, this hats off to my guy Pip, man, because that was incredible. I don't know if anybody else could even argue the fact how he just carried a team throughout for every category the way he did that year.
And should have got the MVP that year and was robbed of that. And Hugh Hollins with the Phantom Call. You know, and then that's a year, you know, MJ retired. So to be able to, and you won 50 plus games again. And no one thought the Bulls would win 50 plus games without Michael Jordan. So, you know, I've always said that about Pip. Pip is, you know, is so underrated. You know, if he would have been on anybody else's team and he would have been the #1 option, and he would have they'd be looking at him totally different than what they look at him now as, you know, and, you know, they look at him as a sidekick. He's way more than a sidekick. He's way more than a sidekick. And the players will tell you, you know, we go back to that championship, the first championship against LA. If Phil Jackson doesn't make that switch and put Scottie on Magic, it might be a totally different series. Maybe we win, maybe it goes 7 games. We don't know. But it would have been a totally different series because Magic was too big for MJ. That's the one matchup that MJ I saw in his whole career that gave him problems just because of the size. And Magic could manipulate you by just backing you down 94 feet if he wants to, and then being able to use his size, get inside and score inside of you. So when Phil made that decision to put, you know, Scottie, and that's not talked about a lot. No one talks about that. That was the defining moment of that series, and that's why we won that first championship against LA. We ended up winning. We lost that first game, and after that first game, they said, "Okay, Scottie, you're gonna take Magic," and then that was the difference. We won 4 straight.
Nah, I take that. That's like one of my favorite players, man. Only thing Scottie to me was missing is a logo, and I don't know what he would have had. You know, I don't know what it would have been, but I think if he would have had something to kind of promote himself that way, besides just 33, I think he would have probably been on that same level.
Something like an octopus or something like a praying mantis, something with like multiple arms, because because people don't know how great a defensive player he was. Like having him and MJ on the floor is like having 4 people on the floor. Like we're playing 4, you know, we're playing, you know, 7 against 5. You know, it's basically what it is. So if you're guarding Olajuwon on the post, and they would tell you, like, just keep him, just play behind him. Don't let him get around you. We're going to come down and help you. And they would be guarding their man, and their arms were so long that they could guard from the 3-point line and then still be reaching in there, digging at the ball when Olajuwon or Barkley or someone like that was pounding the ball, trying to get an advantage to score. And it made you as a defensive player, especially power forwards and centers, you had a security blanket. Just like big guys give you security blankets when they know you get beat on the perimeter gambling. We're going to block them shots for you. We're going to make sure that they don't get to the rim. They gave us that same kind of insurance being out on that perimeter. Like, we didn't fear anybody. We wasn't worried about no big dude giving us 40 because they wasn't going to allow it.
Nah, they had to get the ball up the court, first of all.
Exactly.
Well, Corie, it was great catching up with you, going down memory lane from your times with the Bulls and your great NBA career. And tell the folks how they can reach out to you if they want to get a hold of you for some apparel promotional products.
Man, right now we are revamping our website, but it's definitely www.graduateapparel, and we got www.graduatepromo.com. The whole emphasis is really to just help businesses graduate. That's our mantra. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm not on TikTok, but all the social media, Instagram, I think I said that. So I'm very Twitter. I have a Twitter account, so I'm accessible to any other fan, especially in Chicago. I definitely got to add this. I do not have any hot sauce.
Oh, there you go. We'll get some.
That's blasphemy right there.
I'm stuck with all this crap, man. I want some of that right there, man.
Oh my God! Well, you know what? We're gonna send you a case of stuff, boy. I don't ever want to see the competitor. I don't want to see the competitor in your hand, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, man. That's I'm honestly the only reason I'm doing this podcast, so I can get some of that hot sauce. That's the only reason. All the other crowd, I accomplished my goal. I wanted some hot sauce.
We're gonna get your address. We're gonna get Cisco to get your address, man. We're gonna send you some bottles, bro.
Man, appreciate you, man. Love you too, big bro.
Love you too, boy. Thanks for coming
on.
on.
Opportunity, guys. Man, definitely.
Keep doing you, CB.
Yeah, you've tried the rest. Now taste the best.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
It's coming your way.
All right, man.
Peace out.
Corie Blount, our guest on Gimme the Hot Sauce. We'll talk a little football when we roll on. Time to talk a little football with our Bears analyst, Glenn Morgan. And effort in Las Vegas was not a work of art. It wasn't necessarily pretty, but at the end, all that matters is he got it. Another added addition in the W column. The Bears are 2-2 heading into the bye week. What did you make of what you saw from the game in Las Vegas?
That I was right and Stacey was wrong. Stacking W's. He felt all negative last time we talked. I was like, be positive, this incremental improvement.
I said they were going to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. I said that. That was one of my early picks when we were picking how many games. Where some people said they're only going to win 3 games, and that was one of them. I said I'm going all in the playoffs, baby.
They couldn't stop Ashton Genty. He was running wild. They got to solidify that run defense. And then what'd you make of the experimentation on the offensive line? They basically benched Braxton Jones. They moved Benedette over to the left side, and they put the rookie who had been inactive, Ozzie Trapillo, in at right tackle. What'd you make of all that?
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
But I thought it was it's you're making changes real time. You're not waiting to figure it out and find out and talk about what you could have done later. And to me, that's it's being accountable real time. And it just made some sense. It wasn't working, so why keep beating your head up against the wall, so to speak? It seems as though Benedict may be more of a natural left tackle than right tackle. Trapillo is more of a right tackle. And I thought the physicality that Trapillo brings to the table and his size maybe caused Crosby to slow down a little bit, because he was devastating the Bears in the first half. It was a Max Crosby show. I've never seen, outside of maybe Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, a few other people, seen someone just take over a game from a defensive line position. I mean, it was insane. So I thought it was inspired because, again, necessity required that. But I thought the Bears did a really good job in addressing something that was giving them a lot of problems, at least, from the defensive perspective that the Raiders pose.
Well, listen, the Bears have won 2 games in a row. And the big reason why they've won 2 games in a row, because the defense now for the second game in a row had 4 takeaways. When you're getting takeaways like that, you're going to put yourself in good position, even when the offense struggled. Because the offense struggled, a little bit during that Vegas game. The defense kept them in and kept them at bay, kept them in the game to give them a chance to win the game at the end. So talk a little bit about the defense and what you thought. That Byard, the safety, man, let me tell you something, man. Dude, he is everywhere. Like, wherever there's a play to be made, except for that when he tried to run down Genty for that touchdown and couldn't bring him down. That was the only, like, I don't even call that a negative mark, but that was the only thing I saw that it didn't go right for him. But everything else, man, for the last 2 weeks, I mean, just flying to the ball. I mean, looking like an all-pro back there. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, he is an all-pro caliber defensive back for certain. And that veteran leadership, I mean, it speaks a lot when you do it on the field. Don't just talk about it. A lot of times, sometimes a vet comes in because he's experienced elsewhere, and you respect that and you listen to him. But when they make the plays on the field, it means so much more. And it's not just showing by talking; it's also showing by leadership. The leadership you're showing, an execution out there on the field. And it's very inspirational. You saw Stevenson. Both he and Stevenson have been instrumental the last couple of weeks. And as much as Byard stood out with interceptions, I thought him making that tackle might have been the reason that the kick was a little bit longer than it would have been, and gave the special teams an opportunity to be able to make a play at the end. But Stevenson, to me, I really think he's standing out because he played so poorly. The Detroit game was such a bad taste in his mouth. And you go back to last year with the Washington situation, how that game ended against the Commanders. To see him turn around and make the plays he's making, him selling out on that interception was phenomenal. Right? That was an excellent play of athleticism, commitment, and you're seeing him start to mature and start to be the type of player that he can be. So when he's focused, and I think Byard's leadership is starting to rub off on him, when you see that focus and that commitment to what the team concept is, you're starting to see these guys use their athleticism to make exceptional plays.
What do you think about the development of Caleb Williams? A little uneven in the first half. They weren't able to cash in on the turnovers. He had the passes knocked down a couple of times by Max Crosby. But he led some scoring drives late, enabled him to get the lead. What's your take on his progress through 4 games?
Yeah, it's incremental, but it's just that. It's in the right direction. It's a positive one. I think his decision making is becoming more consistent and better week in and week out. Knowing when to run forward as opposed to scramble around and try and buy time. He still, rabbits out the pocket a little bit too soon. I think he's still in love with his ability to make plays, throwing the ball down the field when he's on the run. He excels at that, and I get it. It's kind of his thing. But I think he's learning how to harness that a little bit better. And if you recall what I said before the season began, Ben Johnson to Caleb Williams is going to really, if we're fortunate as Bear fans, it's going to mirror homegrown and Brett Favre, where you can harness your talented, gunslinging quarterback's abilities to be able to be consistent and still be able to do the exceptional when called for. And we're starting to see Caleb grow into that. And I think it's a positive thing. And it's something that I like it because it's not happening necessarily in an extravagant way. It's slow building. It's almost to the point that it's the subtlety, you could miss it if you're not paying attention. So I really like where that's going.
It looks like Rome Odunze has become the favorite target of Caleb Williams now. Like, that's his number one guy. He's starting to look like a number one receiver. He had 4 straight games with a touchdown. The last time that's happened, I think, was Alshon Jeffrey, 2014. Talk a little bit about that dynamic between those two guys, and where do you see that growing into? Because we're starting to see it like we saw at the infancy stages last year, but you had all the veteran receivers that were getting a lot of catches, but he hadn't forgot about his boy. They came in together, they were drafted together, and it seems like now they have made an effort. He's made an effort to make sure that Odunze gets the ball and being able to operate with that football.
Yeah, almost to a fault. When they went for that 2-point conversion, Kmet was actually probably a better option, but he went to Odunze, who was like double covered towards the back end of the end zone. But to your point, yeah, exactly. Their rapport is something that we were seeing grow before us. Right now, Odunze, he's top 25 in receptions. I think he has 20 receptions on the season. I think he's 11th overall with yards as far as reception yards, 296, and he's tied for second with touchdowns at 5. So you're starting to see consistency with that. DJ Moore's getting involved a little bit more consistently too, and Zacchaeus is someone that he can always look forward on third down for those third down conversions. So guys are starting to kind of settle into their role, so to speak. It's good to have Odunze start to, become that main target, but you don't want to forget about DJ as well. So you might have a situation where you have a 1 and a 1A, and that's great. It's going to become more difficult to double team anybody, and there should be more options for everyone else, particularly with the tight ends. Unfortunately, Loveland couldn't play. We saw Kmet get involved. Now, that drop was tough because that could have been another touchdown right there. But we're starting to see him come off the milk carton. We found him now. He's on the team. He's out there in the field. And he's participating and starting to become part of the offense as well. So I really do like where we're seeing these players. They're getting open. Before, we would struggle so much. Like, where are the receivers? How come they can't get open? And then that would have the quarterbacks hold on to the ball a little bit more and try to do more than what they were able to do because they're holding on to the ball, trying to make a big play. We're seeing guys being schemed open, whether it's the tight end, whether it's the wide receivers, even the running backs are getting out there. And Caleb has options to go to, and you're starting to see him become more comfortable in this system and know where the receivers are so he can hit them. So, I really like where the development of this offense is going. The running game is still nothing to talk about right now, but keep in mind, as bad as it's been, the game-winning play was a rushing touchdown by Swift.
Well, plenty to work on in the next couple of weeks. The next game not until Monday, October 13th, when they go back to D.C. to take on the Commanders. Glenn, thanks for joining us. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, guys. We'll do.
Glenn Morgan, our guest on Give Me the Hot Sauce. So before we wrap it up, I got to let Stacey brag one more time about Oklahoma. We had, 4 teams in the top 10 lost last week. The Sooners are up to 5, but they lost their quarterback for a little while.
We're tough down in Oklahoma. We got somebody. They got a sophomore there that they're really high on. That they expect to be the quarterback of the future. He's going to be Michael Hawkins. He's a dynamic dual threat quarterback. He can run just as good as the quarterback in there. But they're going to miss that Mateer's like senior leadership. This is a guy who's been 5 years in college, and that means something, especially when you're trying to turn the corner, because last year's season was so bad for Oklahoma that they didn't know where they were going. There was jokes like, oh, they're going to be the bottom of the SEC. They left the Big 12 to get hammered in the SEC. So they had to listen to all that. But one thing I said last week, their defense is going to keep them in games. As long as their defense keeps them in games, and then the quarterback who's back there now, Hawkins, can minimize his mistakes. Don't throw interceptions. Don't fumble the ball. Ball security is the key. If they can do that, because they can run the ball. They can run the ball with the running back. They can run the ball with the quarterback. It's just being able to take care of the ball and minimize turnovers.
Yeah, one thing's pretty clear through the first 4 or 5 weeks of the college football season. We do not have a dominant team, so you're going to see a lot of movement within that top 10. All right, time for What Are We Watching? Both Tim and I have things we were kind of disappointed in. What do you got, Tim?
I watched that latest Superman.
Oh, Stacey saw that too, right?
Yeah, and he didn't care for it much, but I'm like, how bad could it be?
It's
a major production.
That's a great review.
And I remember him saying it was just like bad, but I thought it was just weird. I'm like, what is going on here? I was waiting.
The Man of Steel.
I thought they're going to crack jokes then and stuff, and then it starts off and you had some swearing in it, which was unique for this franchise. And then it was just strange. The only thing that was good about it, there's one good thing is that one actor who's from like Castle and the Rookie or whatever playing the Green Lantern, and he was just kind of a odd character. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that was about it.
Yeah, Nathan Fallon.
Is that what his name is? Yeah, he should just do a Green Lantern with his smart remarks and stuff. That was good, but.
Well, both Tim and I have been watching Black Rabbit, which was just released on Netflix. It was really built up because you had Jude Law and Justin Bateman.
I started watching that.
This is a story about brothers. Jude Law owns a New York nightclub, and Justin Bateman has all kinds of problems with the mob, owing them all kinds of money, and it's all the bad mistakes they make and misadventures and all this. It's pretty dark. I just thought, I watched the whole thing. I know that Tim's only through 3 episodes.
Yeah.
As the series progresses, some of the decisions they make, you got the what ready? Because you just cannot believe that human beings would make some of the dumb decisions that they make along the way. I mean, it's quality acting, but I was a little bit disappointed. And it's kind of unbelievable in some of the stuff that they go through.
I just started watching it, and I was like, okay, you spend a lot of time in the bar, so, and it's dark. Like, I was like, man, I got to fix the lighting on my TV. It's like so dark in there. I didn't even recognize Jason Bateman at first.
Because he plays a totally different character.
He reminded me of the guy, when Jeff Bridges was that guy, was the bowling guy.
Oh, the Big Lebowski?
Oh, yeah. He reminded me of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
the dude.
The dude. And I was like, wait a minute, is that Jason Bateman with all that hair?
Yeah.
And then you listen to him talking, oh, that is Jason Bateman. I'm like, okay. So I'm in the first couple of episodes, and I'm not going to tell the people, what to say, but the first couple of episodes is good because it kind of gives you a backstory of where, where they are, what's happened to them. So yeah,
it's just it was so hyped. I mean, Netflix was sending out clips, leading up to it. Like, this is going to be great. It's going to be better than Ozark. It ain't better than Ozark.
No, it's not better than Ozark.
It ain't
well,
it's not better than Breaking Bad.
The coin theft scene is great.
Yeah, that was good.
That's worth watching. But
yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. So, Stacey, what do you got for us this week?
Well, I'm just a regular guy, Mark. I mean, I'm going back to the old shows, re-watching some old stuff.
That can be a lot of fun.
So yeah, it is, because you miss a lot of stuff when you first watch, first go through it, So I'm watching Snowfall, which is a show about the early drug usage in Los Angeles, how crack came into LA and how the government is involved. And the government was funding Nicaraguan, war on terrorism and all this, and they were selling the drugs. They were giving drug dealers all the drugs to sell and then taking money from the drug dealers to fund this war. And so it's really crazy when you think about the government, what the links the government will go to get their hands involved in other things that don't really bother, that matter to them. But they were in there funding a war, and they were funding the guerrillas to fight, to try to overturn the government.
Right.
And they were using the drug money to do it. And that was, but no one could know that the government was involved. Like, it was a secret, so they had this FBI CIA agent. He was the go-between, the drug dealer and the government. And it was off record. So anything happened to him, it just happened to you. If you get killed, you get killed. No one will know about it. You won't get you won't get a ceremony. It's just, you're off the record. You're off the grid. So they were doing all this stuff, and it just spiraled out of control. It spirals out of control at the end. They had, in the beginning, everybody was happy because they were making money. The money was going where it needed to go. The drug dealers were getting their money. And then it got greedy. People get greedy. People in the drug dealer's family, because it was a family-run business, they get greedy and they start turning on each other. So it just shows you what money can do and power, and what people will do to get it and what they will lose to get it.
Is this a documentary?
No, it's a true story. It's based off a true story. John Singleton, who was the director of the show, he passed away. He did the first season, and then he passed away. So this was his vision. He was friends with a guy named Freeway Ricky Ross, who was considered like one of the biggest drug dealers in U.S. history. And this is a story based off of him without using his name.
Yeah. And if you watch the Charlie Sheen documentary, he was probably their number one customer because he talked at length about his love of crack cocaine.
And when we talk about Rick Ross, we're not talking about the chubby guy with the beard that eats wings. We're talking about the real guy, Freeway Ricky Ross. Look him up, Google him. He was a big time drug dealer, had a system in LA, man. He was huge, and he had the backing of the government. So that means he can't even get arrested.
Yeah.
The LAPD couldn't do nothing to him. He'd be bonded out within 30 minutes. Some government person would call if he got arrested. Free him. What do you mean free him? We got him on. He had 20 kilos of coke in his car. Free him. And that's that kind of pool he had. It's amazing when you watch this show.
Yeah. So those are some recommendations, some not so great, and watch at your own risk is, I guess, our advice now. We want to thank our guest, Corie Blount. It was fantastic. I want to thank Glenn Morgan for jumping on as well to talk Bears. Next week, the Bulls start their preseason. Stacey, you'll be off to Cleveland next week, so we'll get early reviews on the Bulls and so much more.
Is it next week?
Next Tuesday.
Oh, Lord.
Mark, you're going to be climbing up them stairs on that.
Mark, hey, see, Mark knows. He did a Cleveland game up there. We've been moved now from the floor.
We're up in
the rafters now, and going down is like, how those little
not easy to get there either.
Remember how you see them little goats on the mountain, and you wonder how those goats are able to walk on the mountain without falling.
Yeah,
that's how it is. We got to get up to the seats. We got to creep down some little steps so we don't fall. And I'm like, this is ridiculous, man. But hey, it's preseason. Let's go Bulls.
Yeah, you're up in the rafters.
You're up in the rafters.
Stacey, Brad Doherty with the Cavs. A lot of fun.
Get those suits cleaned.
Stacey's ready to roll. The preseason is here for the NBA, folks. We'll be back with a new show next week. Until then,
drive home safely. Chicago beep beep.
He didn't come for the massage. He came for the facial. Don't shoot him. Does anybody know how to post videos to Facebook? There's a block party. Why did he get the invitation? That's a huge three. Mustard. Lonzo left alone. Able to swerve, bend that corner. That's the last time I'm going to say it. Williams straight on.